Today's plan with me is all about the hauntingly beautiful film, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. Join me as I take on the task of painting and drawing the characters from the film throughout my spreads. Be sure to stay with me to the end for some extras too. Hello to all you wonderful and lovely people. My name is Lynette. Welcome back, or welcome to those who are tuning in for the very first time. Today I am working in my gorgeous Moonlight Spells B5 dotted notebook from Notebook Therapy. The pages are really lovely and thick, which is just as well as I intend to put the paper to the test and see if it can handle a lot of watercolour. As you can see, I've sketched everything out prior to me painting, just to make sure that I'm happy with my design and everything is where I want it to be. Firstly, I'm going to start painting the background, so I'm mixing up various tones of dark blues, adding Paynes grey, Imperial purple and Moonglow from Daniel Smith's to an almost royal blue. So as well as Daniel Smith's watercolours, I'm also using this Van Gogh watercolour palette. So before I start laying down any paint, I realised that I forgot to add the moon, and I'm using this candle lid to draw around so that I get a perfect circle. So this cover page took me a very long time to complete, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, the cover page alone took me a good solid couple of days to finish. Because I wanted to achieve a solid background, it was quite time consuming waiting for the paint to dry before I could add another layer, and several more layers after that. Also, a bigger paintbrush would have helped, but this was the biggest one that I had that's a fairly decent brush, so sometimes you just have to work with what you got and do your best. So the reason why I chose to do Corpse Bride for my theme this month is because it's the month of love, and I absolutely love this film. It is definitely in my top 5. In fact, I'm such a massive fan of this film that I have a Corpse Bride tattoo on my upper right arm. Also, a couple of months ago, I asked you guys what theme you would like me to do, and Corpse Bride was probably one of the top suggestions, so of course I had to do it, and I thought it would be great to use for February's theme. And last but no means least, because it's the month for all that gushy mushy stuff, it's the first film that my husband and I watched together. The background is pretty much done, and now I'm starting on the moon. I'm using a wet on wet technique, which is where wet paint is applied to wet paper, and this technique creates a fluid and fun, unpredictable effect. Obviously, this isn't watercolour paper, so just be a little bit cautious as to how much water you add to your notebook, or else you will experience a little bit of bubbling or buckling of the paper. I have to admit I did overload my paper a little bit too much, and I did get a little bit of buckling, but when I closed the notebook and used the elastic band to keep it shut, it sorted it out. So we've got this far, and I have to admit that I am really nervous about starting on Emily and getting this right, because I love her so much that I don't want to mess this up. Once again, I spent a lot of time adding layer upon layer, so I've edited out a lot of the footage, otherwise this video would be relentlessly long. So I was kind of happy with how things were going with Emily, and that made me even more nervous to work on Victor, because if I mess him up, then I've just wasted so much time. So to procrastinate, I started filling in the text with a fine liner. So when I was looking online for the official Corpse Bride movie font, I did find that the closest one that you're going to get to it is called the Paynes font. I think that's the way you pronounce it, but if you just do a search, then you'll find it. Now, I know that my Unipin fine liners don't smudge with water, but just as a precaution, because everything seems to be going so well at the moment, I stopped the text there before adding another layer of paint to the moon, because it was looking a bit flat and it needed something more adding to it. So for those of you who haven't watched the film, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride was released back in 2005 and is a stop-motion animated musical dark fantasy film, which was based on a Jewish folktale that originated in 16th century Russia. However, in the film it is set in a fictional Victorian village in England. Victor Van Dort, the son of nouveau riche fish merchants, and Victoria Everglot, the neglected and unloved daughter of impoverished aristocrats, prepare for their arranged marriage, which will simultaneously raise the social class of Victor's parents and restore the wealth of Victoria's family. Although they fall in love instantly, the nervous Victor ruins the wedding rehearsal by forgetting his vows. Fleeing to a nearby forest, he rehearses his vows with a tree and places his wedding ring on an upturned root. However, the root is revealed to be the finger of a dead woman named Emily, who rises from the grave claiming that she is now Victor's wife and spirits him away to the land of the dead. So I'm really happy with how this all turned out, even though Victor did remind me a little bit of David Schwimmer, and now that I've seen that, I'm never going to unsee it. So after all that blood, sweat and tears, I hope that you guys think that I did Emily and Victor the justice that they deserve. So next up is the calendar page. I am creating boxes of 6x6 squares for each date of the month, with a space of 2 squares in between each box. I'm not worrying about using a ruler because it's Tim Burton style, and if it's a little bit wonky, it looks better for it. But also, I'm too lazy to use one, and I'm not a fan of rulers. The font that I'm using for the days of the week is not exactly the Corpse Bride font, but I'm just doing this kind of Burton-esque style handwriting that I came up with myself. And also using the same style for the numbers for the dates of the month. I had a fair amount of space by the side of my calendar, so I am setting up a box by the side of it for my February goals. And then to decorate the page, I am adding some butterflies that feature a lot throughout the film. Tim Burton's unique style is prominent in his films, and he utilises symbolism to enhance the storytelling. He also uses cinematic techniques to further improve and deepen plots, as well as contrast and repeating themes that tie the plot together from start to finish. Right from the very first scene, you see Victor drawing a picture of a butterfly that he has captured, and then he sets it free out of the window once he's finished his illustration. You are then taken on a journey as the butterfly flutters around a rather grim and gloomy Victorian town until it is swatted away by Emily's murderer, Lord Barkis, and the butterfly disappears, foreshadowing what happened to Emily when she was killed by Lord Barkis in the woods. And then to the very end scene, after Emily is freed from her torment, she frees Victor from his vow, where she then steps into the moonlight and turns into a swarm of beautiful butterflies. The butterfly has become a metaphor for transformation and hope across cultures. It has become a symbol for rebirth and resurrection, for the triumph of spirit and soul over the physical prison of the material world. After Emily tells Victor that he has set her free, she is finally at peace and her soul can be free. And even though I've watched that film 1,000 times, I still need a box of tissues to hand every time I watch that scene. All that's left for me to do for my calendar page now is add the number of the week and rub out all the pencil lines. I absolutely love all the bluey purple butterflies all over this page, and I think it looks really cute. And with that finished, now we're moving on to my bucket list for February. So for these next 2 spreads, I took inspiration from Emily's headdress and decorated the pages with roses and grey foliage. So to paint the roses, I am using a very small size 01 synthetic rounded paintbrush, and I am going to begin creating 2 small lines that kind of curve around a U shape. Then using the belly of the brush, I'm just dragging it across the paper, and then using the tip of the brush to add a little bit of detail and bring the petals to a point. And I'm just going around in a circle, and I'm allowing my brush strokes to get a little bit larger and the paint to get ever so slightly lighter. So we have the center of the rose with tighter, compacted and darker petals, and then as you work outwards, the petals appear lighter and larger. It looks like the petals of the rose are kind of uncurling from the center of the flower. So to frame my flowers, I'm going to just add a couple of rose leaves that kind of toothed at the edge of the leaf and come to a point. And then to go with the roses, a couple of the butterflies. So once the paint dried, you'll see in a moment that I added some details, but I'm adding the title of the page with the Corpse Bride font and filling it in with my fine liners. And then I'm finishing off my rose designs with some Burton-esque style scrolls. And then for some unknown reason, I started working on my liner day page, even though I hadn't finished my bucket list page, but that's just how my brain works. So like the other page, I'm adding roses to this one too. At the top of this spread, I wanted to add a little string of the blue flowers that Victoria gives to Victor when they first meet. I did try to find out what the name of the flowers were that she gave to Victor, The closest thing that they look like to me are forget-me-nots, but I know they're not because of the stem. So if there's any of you out there that knows the answer, then let me know in the comment section below and put me out of my misery. And then just to give my designs a little bit extra, I'm adding some little twigs and leaves with my grey koi brush pens. And then with the same pen, I am highlighting the odd numbered dates of my liner day, not only to add a little bit of interest, but it helps me to see which line corresponds with which date. So for my bucket list this month, I would like to do a romantic walk in the woods as it's Valentine's Day. And also spring's coming, so there'll be lots of snowdrops and daffodils coming out now. A date night, a family roast dinner. At the end of the month, there is a new film by the Foo Fighters coming out, Studio 666. I cannot wait to see that. It looks hilarious. I'm just waiting to see if my local cinema is actually going to be showing it. I want to go and visit an art gallery, and hopefully me and the hubby are going to be doing that on Valentine's Day. The Tate Modern will definitely be on the agenda because neither of us have visited it before. And then finally, some Valentine's crafts with my children. So with both of these spreads completed, I am just erasing all the pencil lines and moving on to the next, which will be my habit trackers. For this spread, I'm taking a little break from painting and instead doing a pen illustration of the adorable Scraps. To stop this pen illustration looking so flat, I am using a grey brush pen just to add a little bit of shadow to Scraps and colouring in his collar with a watercolour pencil. For the title, I once again used the Corpse Bride font and a fine liner pen. And then for my tracker boxes, I'm going mini this time. Usually I do a 2x2 box for each date, but I'm only doing one box for each date. And that way I can fit all my trackers onto one page. How do I know it is getting slightly warmer here in the UK? Bob has come to say hello again. He's been staying out of the conservatory where I do all of my art because it has been freezing. But he's back. Anyway, back to my bullet journal. I am creating these Burton-esque style swirly frames to go around each of my habit trackers. So I don't know how you guys feel, but I always think that January and February are a little bit of a struggle on the mental health. So this month I have introduced a self-care checklist. So if I'm having a rubbish day or I'm suffering from a bit of the winter blues, I can refer to this spread and look at these little reminders of things I can do to lift my mood and hopefully make me feel a little bit better. Now obviously these suggestions aren't going to cure anything, but they're there to help me be a little bit more mindful about what proactive steps I could take to possibly help lift my mood on one of those horrible bad days. So some of the suggestions are to go outside and get some fresh air, cuddle with my animals. It's well known that a cat's purr has healing properties. Reading a book and listening to music because music is a fantastic healer and is good for the soul. Staying off your phone. The internet is a fantastic thing, but we all know it can be toxic too. Looking through old photos, lighting a scented candle. And maybe it's because I'm British, but there's not a lot that a cup of tea can't help. Now this one is my favourite natural antidepressant, and that is cuddling up with my gorgeous babies. Buying some fresh flowers because pretty things always make you feel better. Creating in general is good for lifting your spirits. Having a lovely bath, chocolate, cuddles with a hubby, and of course journaling. So to help this spread tie into the rest of my theme, I have added a Burton-esque border, and then very appropriately my next spread is my mood trackers. So I took some templates of the original butterflies that I did earlier on in my spreads. This made creating this spread a lot quicker and a lot easier, and I drew around those templates until I had 28 butterflies over my double page spread. I wanted to add a Burton-esque style thorny border around the edge of my mood trackers, so I decided to use a dark blue Crayola Super Tip pen, more for speed than anything else, placing a scrap piece of paper in between the pages to protect the page underneath. I then added another layer of black thorns over the top of the blue in some gouache, only because I didn't have any black watercolour paint and I thought I'd probably get better coverage with the gouache. And so now I'm on to my first weekly spread. To prevent this video going on too long, I have drawn the characters that I'm adding to my weekly page off camera. I did a couple of sketchy illustrations of the Black Widow spider and the maggot that lives inside Emily's head. At the moment I'm undecided if I need to add colour to them or not, so let me know if you think they would be better left as is or if I should paint them. My boxes for each of the days are 12 squares by 16, and I finished them off with a wonky border. There are so many characters from the film that I haven't been able to incorporate in this plan with me, so for each of my weeklies in February I'm going to add a different character to my spreads. And then it got me thinking, would you guys be interested if I did a weekly journal with me video? So if you guys think that's a good idea and that's something that you would enjoy watching, then I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know in the comments section below. I've already done my preliminary sketches for my 2nd February weekly spread, which are of the Everglots and the Van Dorts, and also Victoria and the evil Lord Barkis. I have had a few requests that I think are a fantastic idea, so if you have any suggestions for me of what you would like me to do, then comment here or message me on Instagram, because I'm really interested in what you guys would like me to do. And so that's it, we're done. There are a few spreads that I did off camera that you will see shortly. I am absolutely loving this theme, and even though it was really labour intensive, I've loved creating every second of it. So which were your favourite spreads, and what characters would you like me to add that I haven't already mentioned or already created? I think for me personally it's really hard to choose which is my favourite spread this month. Not only do I love the theme, but it's all my favourite colours with the blues and the purples and the blacks. With this being the first time I've added a self-care spread to my journal, I think this is going to be really helpful and something that I'll probably end up adding into my journal in the future. So if any of you guys have any tried and tested mental TLC tips, then let me know, because I'd really appreciate that. So you'll see in a moment that I have 2 mood trackers, one for a little bit of fun, and then as I turn the page, you'll see that I have a sleep and mood tracker in graph form. This just gives me a little bit more of a visual representation so I can keep a check on how my mental health is going. And I've also added a lunar cycle calendar underneath those 2 trackers to see if the moon has any effect on how I'm feeling. And then on the other page I've done an illustration of Emily dancing under the moonlight, with a quote from her where she says, "I spent so long in the darkness, I'd almost forgotten how beautiful the moonlight is." And then because it's Valentine's this month, I've added the vows from the film and left the other page blank for a bit of a brain dump, and then stole some stickers off of my husband which I'd bought him for Christmas, which he intended to put on his guitars. Sorry, Seb. I have my social media growth page, which helps me keep in check when I'm going to post and what I'm going to post. And then on the other page, my to be read and to be watched spreads, finished off with the adorable Elder Goodnight, which I drew on some scrumpled up coffee stained paper, which I finished off by sticking to a bit of black cardstock and adding some black and white stripy Burton-esque style washi tape. Well, I hope you liked all the spreads that I created in today's video and you enjoyed watching. If you did, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you like what you saw in today's video and would like to see more, then please hit the subscribe button and help my little channel to grow. I'm very nearly at my next goal of 400 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to keep you updated on future videos. Thank you so much for watching my video. Take care.